Hey guys, isn't this awesome? It's the wilderness, man. I love coming out here just to hike around the trails and be alone for a little while. It's one of my favorite places to hang out. And today we're going to be talking about a time when Jesus went out into the wilderness. But first, let's go back to lesson 1. Remember in lesson 1 we talked about the fact that Jesus was a kid, just like you. He had bumps and bruises and scrapes. He had friends. He played just like you. In lesson 2, we learned that Jesus grew up. He became a young man, and he faced a lot of the same things that you'll face as a young person, things that your parents faced as well. And then last week, we learned about Jesus' baptism. When Jesus, he wanted to identify with us, and he was baptized, even though he didn't have to be. He did it to set an example for you and I. And that leads us to today. And today, we're learning about a time when Jesus went out into the wilderness, a wilderness that looked a lot different than this wilderness. You see, Jesus went out into the wilderness, out into the desert, to be tested by Satan himself. And Jesus had been without food for 40 days. And it's called fasting, when you don't have anything to eat. And Jesus wasn't doing it because it's a part of his diet. He did it for a very specific reason, because the Spirit of the Lord instructed him to go out into the wilderness, and he wasn't to eat anything while he was out there. And see, Jesus had been around all these people right before this. Now he's in the desert, all by himself, no one around. He was lonely, he was hungry, and he was tired. And in comes the enemy, Satan. Now remember, Satan is not some imaginative person like you see in the movies. He is real, and he came to test Jesus. And he came to try to cause Jesus to sin and do something that was wrong. Well, when Satan came to Jesus, first thing he said to him was, hey, Jesus, you see these rocks? Turn them to bread. Come on, you're God, you can do it. Turn these stones into bread. But Jesus knew if he did, he'd be following Satan's instructions. So he couldn't do it, even though he was hungry. So he said, nope, not gonna do it. And in fact, Jesus quoted scripture to Satan. And then Satan started using the scripture against Jesus. Then Satan said, Jesus, just throw yourself off this cliff and you won't get hurt because the angels will protect you. So go ahead. If you're really God, if you're really Jesus, just go ahead and jump. Jesus wouldn't do it. And then Satan came at him a third time and took him to a really, really high place and said, look at all of this. All of this can be yours if you'll just give me some attention, just worship me, and you can have all of this. Remember, Jesus was very tired. He was very lonely. He was very hungry. And Satan is coming at him at the time when he was the weakest. And still, Jesus said no, because Jesus knew that that was not the right thing to do. And in the New Testament, the book of Hebrews, it says that Jesus was tempted just like you and me, but he didn't sin. He didn't fall into the trap that the enemy set for him. And just like Jesus withstood the enemy that day, you and I can do the same. See, Jesus knows you. He knows how you feel today. He knows what's on your mind. He knows the struggles that you go through. He did all of this, was born as a child, grew up as a kid. He was baptized, he was tempted. All of this Jesus did to show you that he understands how you feel. He knows you. but do you know him? I hope you make a decision to know Jesus, not just know about him, but to make him the Lord of your life. You can do that today. He loves you so much, and he really wants you to know him like he knows you. All right, guys, well, I'm gonna go and finish my hike. You have a great day. Love you. We'll see you next time.